Hello there, I'm Scotty, and you're not, and welcome to the first in my exploring series. And what this is basically, uh, I'm going to be going through, uh, I'm going to start a new kind of review series sort of thing, where I go through a franchise, in this case, a trilogy of films, and just give mini reviews of the movies, talk about them, how they work as a franchise or a trilogy or whatever. And I've been planning this for a while, but I wasn't sure where to start. And I initially was going to do the X-Men franchise, because my biggest thing is that when I do this, I want to make sure there's no new movies coming out. So, being as I don't think there's going to be any X-Men movies in the near future, at least nothing in this canon, I thought that would be there. But there is a bajillion movies in that franchise. Let's see, hold on, there's 6 just in this one. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 in that franchise. I think I need to start with a smaller franchise, or trilogy in this case, and that is the Boogeyman Trilogy, which, in my opinion, has one film that's okay, one film that's pretty good, and one film that is not so good. It's not terrible. It has its moments. The idea of that movie, there are some good ideas in it. The execution, not so much. But we're starting off with the original Boogeyman, starring Barry Watson and Emily Deschanel, from 2005. Right? And this movie follows a guy named Tim, who, when he was a child, his father was supposedly attacked and killed by the Boogeyman. No one believed him, and he grew up, with everyone telling him that it didn't go that way, that his dad just left. Well, all these years later, now he's an adult, and his mom passes away, and he has to go back to his family house to help pack stuff up, and ends up having to confront the Boogeyman. Now, on paper, the concept of a Boogeyman as a horror villain can work, and certainly they try in this. But I think the biggest problem that they came across is that there's just, well, one, the CGI is terrible. This was directed by Stephen K. and was produced by Sam Raimi and Rob Tappert. But also, the story and the screenplay was by Eric Kripke, who did Supernatural. And as I said in my review, if you go into this movie knowing that there's a lot of Supernatural in this, the show Supernatural in this, you can tell it's written by the guy who did Supernatural. It's the same year. It's 2005. Supernatural came out in 2005. This could be a Supernatural episode of Supernatural from the first season, where they investigate the house, they investigate what happened, stuff like that. The whole, teleportation thing. This could be a Supernatural episode. Just replace the two leads with the Winchesters, and it could work. Of course, the love interest thing, it's not really love interest, but yeah. We have, and the first 2 movies in this franchise have not only the Seventh Heaven connection, but the Xena Warrior Princess connection, with Barry Watson being in this one, and I forget his name, David Gallagher who played Simon, being in the second one, and then you have Lucy Lawless in this one, and Renee O'Connor in the second one. And I think if they had stopped with this movie, it would have been a lot more like... So the whole movie, he's trying to convince people that the Boogeyman is real once he starts going into the house and he starts seeing it again, and then his girlfriend disappears. There's that thing of blood on the bathtub at the hotel they went to, and she's gone, and his uncle is killed, and he teleports back to the house, and you know, if there was no sequels, you could probably say that it's up for interpretation how the ending is. The ending is basically Tim facing his childhood fears, defeating the boogeyman by destroying all the things that scared him in his room in the dark as a child. That's how it ends. And you could say that this is basically a story of a man coming to terms with his childhood fears. And it's left up to interpretation as if if the boogeyman was real or if it was in his head and he was actually killing his people. You know? But because there's sequels, there's no doubt that there actually is a boogeyman. However weird the sequels get with the boogeyman. And there is one question that still kind of racks at my brain. Did the boogeyman kill his mom? It's something I thought about today while trying to come up with this episode. Is I didn't think about that. Did the boogeyman kill Tim's mom to get him to come back? Or did she just... I think she was ill beforehand. But did the boogeyman kind of push her towards death? It's something to think about. I don't know. And yes, the ending implicates that Tim is now going to move on from this. But if we find out in the sequel, that's not what happens. The first boogeyman, I think, is decent. It's nowhere near as creepy as I found it when I first watched it. If I was to rewatch it, I watched these movies enough that I know, the basic stuff. If I was to rewatch it now, the CGI is just, it's 2005 CGI. It's not so good. It actually seems like some kind of CGI you would find in Supernatural, which is another thing, but. And then there is Boogeyman 2, which came out 3 years later in 2008. And this time they doubled everything. You have 2 kids who are haunted by memories of the boogeyman who killed both their parents in this one. And then we cut to present day, or 2008 in this case, where the, what's her name? Whitney? Laura and her brother Henry. Laura is going to get Henry, who is leaving this mental institution he was in. It's a mental institution that studies phobias. And his phobia was the boogeyman. Sorry. His phobia was the boogeyman, basically. Boogiephobia, as they call it in the movie, I guess. And what I like about this is this kind of turns the boogeyman into a slasher villain of sorts, but it's understandable once you find out the twist why he was a slasher villain. It's a slasher villain with supernatural abilities, so kind of like Freddy Krueger-esque, and he takes all your worst fears. Like the kid who's afraid of germs and stuff, he ends up accidentally eating a bug and then is forced to drink his cleaning solution. The girl who cuts herself sees a bunch of stuff on her and is forced to cut herself. The girl who's afraid to is afraid of gaining too much weight is like anti-liposuction, basically is what you could call it. All these fears, You have, like I said, Renee O'Connor, Dr. Gabrielle, whatever you want to call it. And then there's Dr. Jigsaw, Tobin Bell. He's in this, playing this cynical doctor who doesn't believe anything. And I think some of the kills are very creative in this film. I like this film. This is the best one. In my opinion, this is the best one. It may have to do with the slasher-esque, feeling, because I'm a slasher guy. I love me some slashers. So that might be why, but this is my favorite one. And the whole asylum setting. I like the asylum setting for certain things. I love films set in asylum like this, Grave Encounters. Grave Encounters is okay. Grave Encounters 2 is okay, but stuff set in asylums, I think are great. And the twist. So the twist comes at the end when the boogeyman, he's killed almost everyone except for Dr. Jigsaw and Gabrielle, you can call her, and Laura. And it's revealed that the boogeyman is actually Henry, who, during his time there, was forced to be stuck in a closet to embrace his fear. Turns out, while he was in the closet, the boogeyman kind of took over his body and is now in control, basically. So now the Boogeyman is doing all this stuff in Henry's body. And then we get another twist where you see the Boogeyman coming after Laura after he was chasing her. And she cuts off his head, but it's revealed that it's actually Dr. Gabrielle. Oh, that Dr. Jigsaw gets killed. Dr. Gabrielle, because I don't remember her name. And they take Laura in, like they assume she's the one who did it. She gets blamed for it. And that would be a good way to end it. But they had to do a third one. And here's the thing. I think this could be, like, these films could be decent films if they were standalone sequels. This is actually really good. Like, if you were to have these standalone sequels, be standalone movies in a Boogeyman anthology franchise. But the problem is, in this film, they reference Tim and say that he ended up killing himself, committing suicide, or maybe the Boogeyman did it, who knows. But according to the hospital, he committed suicide. And in this film, they decide to do a big retcon at the beginning of this, showing that Dr. Jigsaw's daughter is being hunted by the Boogeyman. And then our main character, Sarah, starts digging into this and finds out, apparently, that Dr. Jigsaw kept files on the Boogeyman. This is a man who said, and I quote, "The Boogeyman is not real." Yet he's keeping files on the Boogeyman, and he, I guess, believed him, and he's even got voice recordings because he Jigsaw about the Boogeyman, even though that makes no sense because he didn't believe in the Boogeyman. The only thing I think of is they're trying to. No, it doesn't make any sense. But and then we get the setting, the college setting. We go from Seventh Heaven to we got first two had a combination of Seventh Heaven and Xena Warrior Princess, and then we got Power Rangers over here because the main character Sarah is played by Erin Cahill, who was the Pink Power Ranger in Power Rangers Time Force. So yeah, that's the only good thing I can say. And this whole movie is basically they changed the lore, and like I said, if they had kept in standalone films about different Boogeyman, because they all look different. The Boogeyman in this film looks different than this one, and it looks different than this one. So the Boogeyman looks different in each film. And so if they were separate films about different Boogeyman in kind of a anthology type setting, I think they would work better. But they don't. They each have a little story thread. Like the second one mentions Tim, and then this one, the doctor's daughter. And when you go straight from, oh, this Boogeyman is out for revenge going after the doctor's daughter, but it's not Henry, it's the actual Boogeyman. Well, what happened to Henry? Where is he? Did the Boogeyman just leave him on the side of the road? What happened? And the whole mythology with this is that if you believe in the Boogeyman or have this little shred of belief in you, he comes after you and kills you. It's like anti-Candyman, where if you say, I don't believe in Candyman, he comes out and this one is if you seem to believe in the Boogeyman, he comes after you. And like I said, as a story thread, I think it would work better if, one, they didn't connect it to the previous two, and two, if they actually went all the way in on this and saying that if you believe in the Boogeyman, he will come after you. But they don't really go into it because at the end, Sarah confesses to all the killings so that no one will believe that the Boogeyman is real. And that should end it, right? If no one believes, oh, it's just her. They just believe, oh, it's just her. There was no Boogeyman. She made it up to kill people. That should be it. Then the Boogeyman reaches in the elevator and pulls her out, leaving no doubt that the Boogeyman was real. And you could say, well, that's just the Boogeyman doing that so that they would believe that he's real. But here's the problem. Belief in the Boogeyman gives him power, and less belief takes it away. He shouldn't have had enough power to reach through and grab Sarah. But they wanted a big ending. And then implied that it's going to continue because we cut to a year or so later at the end of the people staying in Sarah's room now at the college, and they start talking about Boogeyman, and then Boogeyman comes for one of them. So they planned on doing more. They didn't. But they planned on it, and I just think, like, part of this series, why I'm doing this series is to see how a franchise or a trilogy works as a complete story. I know a lot of trilogies and franchise don't do that, but just to see how they work all together. And like I said, if they had taken these and made them individual stories, this one is about Tim and his encounter with Boogeyman and how he defeats him in his way, because it was his childhood fears that manifested it. There's that. This one, the Boogeyman, different Boogeyman, possessed her brother. She's got to deal with it, but she gets the blame. That's in this story. And then another Boogeyman shows up and goes after Sarah, and it's all about the belief in the Boogeyman that makes him stronger. If they were separate, unconnected stories, it would work so much better than what they ended up doing with the franchise, having to put that little story thread to connect it. The second one mentioning Tim, the second one mentioning the doctor, and having the doctor's daughter as a minor character at the beginning of the film. They had to find a way to connect it, and I feel it would have been better as separate anthology stories. I think. Anyway. I'm just saying. I think it would have worked better. As it stands, if I'm going to watch any Boogeyman, it's going to be this one. But I will watch this one before I watch this one. Because, like I said, while there's some good things in this one, it's not very good. So, and even in these, I'm going to do like a ranking or a re-ranking in some of the ones that I'm redoing. Like the X-Men ones, I did a ranking already. I'm going to re-rank them. But this is a small one. Maybe for some of the smaller ones, I'll do a ranking, because I've already done rankings for the bigger ones. But for the smaller ones, I would say that Boogeyman 3 is at the bottom, with the first one in the middle, and then Boogeyman 2 at the top. So it would be like this. Boogeyman 3 at the bottom is the worst. Boogeyman 2 is decent. It's in the middle. Boogeyman 3 is the worst. The first Boogeyman, because I hate it when people say, Boogeyman 1. No, the first Boogeyman is in the middle. It's decent. And then Boogeyman 2 is the best. So yeah. That concludes my talk on the Boogeyman franchise. My exploration, I should say. What are your thoughts on the Boogeyman trilogy? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. The reason this is on a Friday is, one, I needed a video for Friday. And originally this was going to be a reworking of Franchise Friday before I came up with a new name for it. It won't always be on Fridays. But this time it is, because I needed a video for Friday. So thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.